I was an orphan living with the Davis family. Out of a sense of debt and responsibility, I married Sarah Davis, who suffered from mental illness. I knew she never loved me, and I was just a substitute for the man in her heart. The day Sarah regained her senses, she threw these words at me: "Ethan, taking advantage of my mental state to force me into marrying you, you disgust me." The day her beloved returned, I voluntarily handed her the divorce papers. Sarah gritted her teeth and cursed me for being heartless, her eyes brimming with hatred. But my life had already reached its end. Before departing, I would drag the demon who hurt her down to hell with me. At the age of 10, my family fell victim to a brutal act of revenge. I was the sole survivor. The murderer had planned it all along. No evidence, no surveillance. The only witness to the crime was Sarah, who'd been jumping rope outside our door. The little girl stood behind the one-way glass, identifying the murderer, standing on tiptoe with her head held high, her ponytail swaying gently, not a trace of fear on her face. On the day the murderer was brought to justice, a distant uncle took me to thank Sarah. Sarah's father slapped her across the face. "Who told you to meddle in other people's business? That guy is mentally ill. He won get the death penalty, and he'll definitely come back for revenge." "I was wrong, Dad. I was wrong." Sarah's sobs felt like something repeatedly gouging at my heart, a wave of bitterness rising in me, leaving a sour taste. "Upholding justice, why is that wrong? Don't cry. If that villain comes to hurt you again, I'll protect you with my life." What weight could a promise from a 10-year-old carry? Of course, Sarah didn't believe it. I stayed behind living with the Davis family. My uncle negotiated with them. Monthly living expenses paid. All I needed was a place to eat, sleep, and study. After hastily settling me in, my uncle never came to see me again. "I actually knew all along," Aunt said. "I was an ill-omened person who brought death upon my whole family." Uncle's family never really wanted to take me in either. My parents' inheritance was seized by my uncle's family, and the Davises skimmed off more from it. In the end, barely any money was left for me. But I didn't care as long as Sarah was still by my side. On a sunny afternoon, at a wobbly little desk, the cicadas chirping school uniforms, the sweet fragrance of watermelon, and the rustling of book pages turned by the wind. Sarah was so sleepy, she couldn't sit straight, resting her head on my shoulder while yawning intermittently. Dappled tree shadows fell upon Sarah's eyelashes, encircling my entire world. She was beautiful, always surrounded by a crowd of boys like flies buzzing around my precious flower. I just couldn't stand it. Especially that little punk Jack, who would block her path every day after school. I couldn't help but punch Jack, only to see him the next day with a black eye draped over his motorcycle, his arm slung around Sarah's neck. "Sarah, your little brother sure sticks his nose where it doesn't belong." I lunged forward, but Sarah stopped me. "Ethan, who do you think you are? Stop meddling in my business. You're Sarah's brother. I'm not afraid of you. I just don't want to stoop to your level." Jack grinned, cheekily flipping open his tattered backpack to reveal a gleaming, oiled harpoon gun. Sarah climbed onto his motorcycle and sped away. What happened next was unexpected. Jack shot another thug through the head with a harpoon gun to protect Sarah, then ended up behind bars. The trauma left Sarah mentally unstable, her condition fluctuating over those 3 years, even disrupting her education. The year she got into college, Sarah's father pulled me aside and warned: "Ethan, don't forget your roots. Our family took care of you for so long. You must come back to watch over Sarah someday, to care for her for life." I kept my promise and returned secretly. I'd been glad the world had abandoned her, that she finally belonged to me alone. The day I married her, she lifted her head and smiled at me, her eyes sparkling. The next second, she pursed her lips and called out softly, "Jack, you're back." Sarah mistook me for Jack. I bore no resemblance to Jack, yet she stubbornly stood on the sofa, embracing me in an awkward pose. That was her last memory of Jack, a past that belonged solely to the two of them, a history no one else could intrude upon. I lost my temper and pushed her arm away from me. Sarah's eyes immediately reddened as fear and despair took turns stripping away her pride, seemingly choking off my breath as well. I had promised to protect Sarah, yet when she needed me most, I wasn't by her side. I didn't even have the right to be angry. After dinner, she hopped barefoot across a hopscotch grid on the floor, her skirt swaying unsteadily in her hands. My college junior traveled thousands of miles to see me, her eyes brimming with tears, thinking I deserved better. Senior, you were the top graduate in our year. The professor was counting on you to pursue further studies and bring him honor. Look at the life you're living now. Hands meant for holding scalpels. Are you really going to spend every day peeling fruit for this madwoman? Using a scalpel is living and peeling fruit. ISNT. I handed the peeled apple to my junior, my eyes fixed on Sarah's bare feet. Besides, I chose to study medicine to take better care of her. The apple rolled across the floor, spinning far away until it was covered in dust. The junior girl cupped my face and recklessly leaned in. Senior, I confess to you, so many times back in school, I liked you, and that hasn't changed even now. On my apple got dirty. Sarah chased after the apple, then suddenly stumbled and fell in an undignified heap, kicking her legs and wailing. I quickly pushed the junior girl away to go comfort her. From behind came the junior girl's resentful sneer, "You'll regret this." Sarah buried her head into my chest with such force it felt like a headbutt, both painful and comical. Dazed, I thought she must be jealous. Looking down at her, my smile softened with tenderness. What could I do? She was my entire world after all. That seemingly minor fall turned out to be a concussion when examined at the hospital. After over a month of hospitalization, she complained of headaches every day, with her condition fluctuating between improvement and relapse. That day, when heavy rain poured down, I rushed to close the windows. The moment Sarah opened her eyes, she grabbed my sleeve. "Ethan, how could you take advantage of me?" "Sarah, you're awake. Don't call me." That Sarah's gaze seemed to sink into pitch black night, sky devoid of any twinkling stars, taking advantage of my mental confusion to force me into marrying you. "You disgust me." Sarah had regained clarity, and time that had paused upon her now began racing forward at full speed. She spent a great deal of time making up for those lost years studying, taking exams, and reintegrating into society. From that day on, our marriage became mutual torment. I knew with painful clarity that the name engraved in her heart wasn't mine. That day, I prepared a table full of her favorite dishes. Before I could speak, she cut straight to the point. "Let us get divorced." His hand jerked violently, causing the bowl to clatter sharply against the table. "Can we not get divorced, right? Our Dr. Ethan is at the peak of his career. Now a divorce wound. Look good," Sarah said, slowly biting her chopsticks. "Let us just make do for now." I nodded with a bitter smile. "Don't worry, I won't hold you back. We'll divorce as soon as Jack returns." Jack was a rich second-generation heir who hurt people when he was still young. His family used money to settle the matter, then promptly sent him abroad. Jack's family treated Sarah as a jinx, never caring whether she lived or died during her years of mental illness. I heard from others that Jack has now achieved fame and success running his own company with considerable reputation in the industry. He is no longer that shameless little hoodlum from back then. Sarah has been working relentlessly lately, as if trying to squeeze 10 days worth of work into one. I know she is afraid Jack would look down on her. A violent coughing fit woke me up in the middle of the night. My chest burned with pain, sharp and lingering. The study light was still on, and Sarah hunched over the desk, glanced up at me. "Take your medicine. If you need to, you're a doctor, you should know." It was rare for her not to respond with icy sarcasm. Even if it was just an offhand remark, it still comforted me. I moved closer and whispered, "I heard Jack is coming back to visit during spring break this year." "Oh, so you can't wait? If you're tired of being with me, you don't have to wait for Jack to come back. We can get divorced anytime. Just say the word." Sarah's pen stopped. She suddenly straightened her back, stretched, turned off the light without even glancing at me. Exhausted and drained, I just wanted to make her happy, yet I knew all too well the one who could truly bring her joy wasn't me. Around the Lunar New Year, our department had a gathering where everyone brought their families except for me, standing alone. When I mentioned it to Sarah, she didn't even lift her head from her desk. "I don't have time to play house with you." Watching others bask in their happiness, it'd be a lie to say I wasn't envious. "Ethan, either cut it off completely or give it one reel try," my colleague Dave said, shaking his head as he patted my shoulder. "Life, ISN, meant to be suffering. Don't leave yourself with regrets." I rarely drink and have a very low alcohol tolerance. Half a bottle of whiskey went down, and before it could even digest, I threw it all up. I slept in the office overnight and woke up with a splitting headache in the morning. Grabbing the narcissus flower from the desk, I dashed home. Dave startled me, still hung over the hospital's charity run. "Is the day after tomorrow?" I pushed the door open with force, and there stood Sarah in front of the sink, wearing an apron, making breakfast. The house was filled with thick smoke, as if it were about to catch fire. In recent years, her mental illness had left all the household chores to me. After she recovered, she once said she wanted to share the burden and even volunteered to make a Wellington steak to impress me. Before picking up my chopsticks, I'd already made up my mind. No matter how terrible the steak tasted, I would eat it with a smile. But the moment I cut into it, the steak was still raw. From that day on, I never let her into the kitchen again. "I'm sorry, I had a department dinner last night and drank too much, so I couldn't make it back to prepare breakfast for you." I hurriedly took the spatula from her hand and reached to untie her apron. Sarah stiffened uncomfortably and pushed me away. "Don't get so close, we have a guest." I turned around and saw Jack. "Ethan, long time no see." The Jack before me was dashingly handsome, impeccably dressed, and spoke with refined manners, every inch the confident, successful entrepreneur. A bitter smile. No wonder Sarah was so enthusiastic about cooking with an apron on. Not because I hadn't come home all night, but for Jack. "For didn't you say you'd be back for spring break? How come? Is that any way to talk to a guest?" Sarah jabbed at my ribs with her wrist, annoyed by my sarcastic tone. I laughed and dodged, pushing her hand away. Time seemed to suddenly rewind to those days when it was just the two of us. Only in those distant memories could she be so vivid, so carefree. "It's been so long since you've seen each other. You two go talk outside. I'll handle breakfast." I shooed them out of the kitchen, but Jack circled back, probing deliberately. "Or not, Sarah, couldn't even hold a cooking spatula. you've really treated her well all these years. She asked my wife, it's what I should do, Jack, suddenly laughed if you really treated her as your wife you wouldn't have gone all these years without touching her. I knew Jack still loved Sarah, otherwise he wouldn't have rushed back the moment he heard she regained her senses. Reason told me I should be happy for Sarah, but hearing Jack come to stake his claim only filled me with pent-up resentment and fury I couldn't vent. An awkward silence settled, broken only by the sizzle of eggs frying in the pan. Ethan, after all these years, you still can't get over that hurdle in your heart. I was young and foolish back then. I know I was wrong, and I've repented. The two of you were so close, like one person. I thought you were siblings who knew you loved Sarah too. His belated apology was nothing more than a shameless display. After all those years of constant companionship and care, I still couldn't replace his place in Sarah's heart. How utterly I've failed. I don't dislike her, I just can't stand you with an expressionless face. I shovel the eggs onto the plate and toss the spatula aside. Dinner's ready. I prepare breakfast and set 2 place settings facing each other on the table, just like always. It's fine, I'm not hungry, I ate on the plane, and just told Sarah not to bother Jack. Home by years in the business world, smoothly stepped in to ease the tension, clearly worried Sarah might feel embarrassed. You two eat, I need a rush to work. This house is so small it can barely accommodate 2 people. What is the point of forcing myself to stay? It would only lead to more humiliation. Sarah hesitated as if wanting to say something, but ultimately didn't stop me. As I walked out, Jack followed, unconsciously exuding an air of ownership. Since you don't like Sarah, you must have married her out of gratitude, right? I completely understand. Wasting your best years on someone you don't love is truly tragic. The words pierced my ears, leaving me breathless. Was it the same for Sarah? There, S.A. pot of Narcissus over there, take it in, and say you bought it. I paused, pointing to the gap between the windowsill and the tree. Be good to her from now on. 5 work is the best way to distract oneself. For several days in a row, I was unusually energetic, going to work in high spirits. Everyone probably thought I was about to get promoted. Only when utterly exhausted could I curl up on the sofa and fall into a deep sleep, wishing I could just sleep forever. Sarah called me several times, but I always hurriedly hung up, citing work as an excuse. Truth be told, I was afraid she'd bring up divorce. I was like an ostrich burying its head in the sand. As long as I didn't face it, I could pretend it wasn't happening. My prolonged illness and lack of rest worsened my cough. When it came, it was hoarse and breathless, like that of a decades-long chain smoker. Senior, even an iron body can't withstand this kind of strain. A glass of water appeared before me, and 2 pills were popped directly into my mouth. I've applied for a transfer here for exchange studies. From now on, I'll be supervising your medication. My junior gave up the lucrative offer from a big city hospital and insisted on squeezing into this small town hospital that has nothing to offer. How could I not understand what she meant? But my life is already in ruins. I can't drag her down with me. How long is this exchange? 6 months or a year? I frowned. Don't gamble with your future. Go back sooner rather than later. We'll see when the time comes. Don't worry, I'm responsible for my own life. I cling to you. My junior opened the thermal lunchbox and handed me the fragrant midnight snack. You like handmade Italian dumplings with egg yolk filling. I specially learned the recipe from chef. Try it. The door slammed open. Sarah threw a takeout box in front of me, nearly spilling its contents across the table. The junior looked at her, then at me, teasing with a smile. Sarah, did you switch careers to food delivery? Such a pretty girl, yet so sharp-tongued. Sarah turned around with an unfriendly expression. Sarah, she's too young. Don't take it to heart. And Junior, your joke crossed the line. Don't speak to Sarah like that. After scolding both, I noticed Sarah's wind-chapped cheeks. It's freezing out. You shouldn't have brave a cold. Fine, I was meddling in your business. Sorry to bother you. Sarah's face darkened as she let out a cold laugh. Come home tomorrow. We can't keep dragging this out. My heart suddenly sank. In the end, there was no avoiding it. Sarah actually sent over ravioli. How dare they stay in business with such terrible cooking? Tell Sarah to blacklist them, never order from there again. The junior didn't take it to heart at all, casually lifting the lid of the takeout container herself. The dumplings inside were crooked and misshapen with broken wrappers, leaking filling. These couldn't possibly be store-bought. They were unmistakably Sarah's handiwork. I couldn't help but laugh until my eyes stung. You went through all this trouble. Is this her parting gift for our divorce? 6. Our negotiations were calmer than expected. So calm, it felt surreal to both of us. Sarah skimmed through the divorce papers before tossing them aside, as if nothing had happened at all. I reminded her, take a look at the content above and see if there's anything missing or unreasonable. We can discuss and revise it together. Leave it here. My mind, working while I need time to digest it slowly. Sarah avoided my gaze, her hands pausing abruptly while peeling an orange as she winced in pain. Her left ring finger was wrapped in a band-aid. I couldn't understand. How could someone cut that particular finger while making ravioli? Yet in the end, I still didn't ask Sarah, are you and Jack doing all right? Sarah nodded. Yeah, just a couple days ago. He took me to a class reunion. Tell me, R&T people just so snobbish. Everyone was fawning over him nonstop. Barely anyone even remembered me. That's good after all those years. She'd been mentally ill. I was afraid the now successful Jack might look down on her. Now Jack takes her everywhere to visit relatives and friends, not showing the slightest bit of disdain. At least he's got a conscience. Then you should finalize the divorce agreement as soon as possible. Let us get this settled, so you and Jack 1T have any more worries. I've kept Sarah to myself for all these years. It's time to return her to the one she truly loves. We're already divorced. Why do you care who I'm with? Sarah sneered. Or is it because you're planning to run off with your junior, and your guilty conscience is making you find me some poor sucker to take your place? That's not what I meant. So now you resent me for holding you back from your junior? Is that it? Who asked you to marry me? Who needs your pity? Sarah suddenly stood up, violently tearing the divorce papers on the table, her voice raw with fury. When I was out of my mind, you could just run off. Why come back and tie yourself to me, Ethan? Do you think you're some kind of saint spreading love and salvation wherever you go? I abruptly stood and pulled her into a tight embrace. Sarah froze, completely stunned. I didn't marry her out of pity, nor have I ever thought of her as a sister. Too many words swirled in my heart, but in the end, all that came out was a dry sentence. I hope you'll be all right, can we? I don't want a divorce if there's even the slightest possibility. I refused to hand her over to Jack. Within my line of sight, the desk was cluttered with messy design drafts, and beside the crumpled papers, half of a passport peeked out. Sarah had loved tinkering with these things since childhood. During her lucid years, she made many doll clothes from fabric scraps and said she wanted to become a fashion designer someday. Jack pulled some strings, wanting to send her to Milan for professional training. It was a future I couldn't give her. What I mean is, let us make this quick. Between us, dragging it out will only make it harder. I silently swallowed the words that might have followed in the end. We could never have anything. A tickle in the throat triggered another uncontrollable fit of coughing. My palm was damp and sticky, all bloodstains. I didn't dare look up, hastily wiping it clean with a handkerchief, afraid Sarah might see. Sarah stood behind me, watching coldly, then dropped a single sentence. Fine, I'll grant your wish. 7 Senior, why didn't you say anything earlier? You were this seriously ill, yet you've been sleeping in the office every day. I knew the secret was out the moment I saw the drawer left open. Silently, I tucked the medical report back into the drawer, locked it, and smiled bitterly. It's nothing serious, don't make a fuss. I'd been infected by a patient before at the time. I just felt chest pain and fatigue. But being so young, I didn't think much of it. Procrastinating like this, I ended up with terminal lung cancer. Does she know? The junior sat before me with reddened eyes, waiting for an answer that never came. I guess she doesn't. I'm sorry, I said to the junior. She fell silent for a moment, as if suddenly understanding something. No wonder you were so close to me that day. You wanted her to despise. You didn't. You honestly? I don't mind being used by you at all. I just hate that you don't care about your own well-being. She paused, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. It's for the best. Sarah doesn't deserve you. There's still a long road ahead. Once you're divorced, I'll accompany you for treatment. A road ahead. All these years, I've lived only to protect Sarah. Without her, what future is there left for me? Don't answer it. The phone rang, and my junior snatched it away from me with lightning speed. Don't give yourself the chance to soften your heart. That was Sarah's exclusive ringtone. During her years of madness, a blissful infant-like expression would appear on her face whenever she heard this melody, so I listened to it tens of thousands of times with her. It was until the day I heard Jack's phone ring with the same tone that everything suddenly became clear to me. Back then, Jack and Sarah leaned against the big tree by the river, each with one earbud, sharing the youthful secrets that belonged exclusively to them. There was no place for me in those days. I was just that scrawny boy watching their retreating figures with impotent rage. Give me the phone. After all, we were once husband and wife. Let us at least maintain some dignity and part on good terms, shall we? The junior threw the phone in front of me. This is the last time. Don't let it happen again. Sarah's voice trembled with tears on the other end of the line, so broken she couldn't form a complete sentence. Ethan, he's back. Come quickly. He's really back. Who? The murderer. The one who killed your entire family. Sarah took a deep breath, her teeth chattering audibly. I saw him. He has come back for revenge. 8. The murderer. Carl Morgan did indeed have mental disorders, with his condition fluctuating between stable and unstable. During the trial, he insisted that his illness made him unable to control his actions, repeatedly interfering with psychiatric evaluations. The case dragged on for years, and in the end, he was sentenced to death. The last time I saw him, he was in court weeping bitterly, slapping his own face repeatedly, while loudly repenting for his crimes. The trial concluded when he suddenly raised his head and leisurely lifted his hand, making a slow, slicing motion across his neck. I'll never forget the expression on his face at that moment, like a vicious, snarling jackal. Carl Morgan was prone to fits of madness. Even in prison, no one dared provoke him. Yet in public, he put on the facade of an honest, law-abiding man, securing an early release years ahead of schedule. 3 months ago, he opened a butcher shop across the street, its storefront directly facing our home. Every day when the shop opened, he would stare blankly ahead, chopping viciously at the meat on the cutting board, his face wearing a deliberately forced gentle smile. The blade rose and fell, splattering flesh, and bone-shattered pig and cow bones often appeared at the doorstep. Sometimes rotting offal was dumped beneath the windows. Clothes hung out to dry were splashed with bright red pig and cow blood. Installing surveillance cameras was useless when Carl came. He was fully armed, making it impossible to capture his face clearly. I went to the police station to report Carl for threatening. Our safety Carl himself overturned the stall, sat on the ground, and started throwing a tantrum, accusing me of intimidation. Do you have any proof? When I opened a shop, I just wanted cheap rent. How was I to know? It happened to be right in front of your house. I've turned over a new leaf now, and you just have to drive me to the wall. I'm just running a butcher shop to make ends meet. Who have I offended? Do ex-convicts have no rights? He acted so innocent that the onlookers pointed and whispered, saying I was making a mountain out of a molehill. The police couldn't do anything either. There was no concrete evidence of Carl's malicious intent at the moment. So they just gave us a few words of advice and let it go. Sarah was terrified, suffering from nightmares night after night. When I went to work at the hospital, she would huddle inside the house, trembling, her mental state deteriorating day by day. Within a few days, some busybody took our altercation with Carl out of context and posted photos online with the headline, ex-convict turns over a new leaf by opening butcher shop, heartless couple flipstall over price dispute. The overwhelming flood of negative attention rendered my explanations and clarifications utterly insignificant. The endless insults and harassment had already disrupted our normal lives. I took extended leave to stay home with Sarah, but the situation showed no signs of improvement. That evening, we sat in the darkness, silently eating takeout. Sarah smoothed her hair and turned to look outside, look on the bright side with so many people watching as Carl wouldn't dare make a move. I forced a smile, but couldn't manage it. If Sarah hadn't stepped forward to expose Carl back, then none of this suffering would have fallen on her. How could she still be trying to comfort me now? With a loud bang, the window shattered, the old neglected glass fracturing like ice, cascading down the wall in a chaotic clatter. Without time to think, I shielded Sarah tightly against my chest. Blood, she stared at the blood dripping from my forehead and the shards of glass on my body, her emotions spiraling out of control as she screamed and wailed hysterically, her eyes wide and unseeing. I could feel her body stiffening in waves, and I was terrified she might lose herself to madness again. It's nothing touched my face, it's just surface wounds, I'm fine. Sarah screamed soundlessly in my arms, completely voiceless. Once again, I failed to protect her. I was just away sweeping graves for a few days. How did things turn out like this? How could you let this happen to her? I know it's all my fault. Faced with Jack's roar, I didn't even attempt to defend myself. I prepared all the documents. We'll go file for divorce later. Ethan, are you even human? Jack trembled with rage, his fists itching, strike my face the next second. She's in this state, and you still want to divorce her? I didn't dare to look up as I pulled the document folder from under the cabinet. Take her away. Go somewhere no one knows her. Start over. Jack was trembling with anger. She won't come with me. She definitely will, I repeated stubbornly, as if trying to convince myself. She likes you, and you like her. I've been standing between you for so many years. It's time to end this. Anyone can despise her, look down on her, but not you. You don't have that right. Jack interrupted me roughly, running his hands through his hair. Sarah didn't leave with me willingly back. Then she was trying to protect you. The leader of the gang was named Vince. He took a liking to Sarah and forced Jack to bring her out for the boys to have some fun with, or else they'd throw him into a cement pit and bury him alive. Jack was terrified. He stole his father's spear gun and threatened Sarah with my life. They don't see you as a brother. They just want to drag you down. If anything happens to me, you'll be the one left holding the bag. Sarah sat on the back of the motorcycle, gently holding Jack's waist, her chin resting against his back. As she spoke softly, their worthless lives, but still afraid to die. Only you act without thinking. The gang forced Jack to go first, then recorded the video to prevent him from backing out. At that moment, he completely believed Sarah's words. They fought to tear Sarah's school uniform, her screams and cries for help shredding the last shred of Jack's dignity. Jack raised the harpoon gun and fired it straight into Vince's head. Before the police arrived, the two of them sat under the big tree by the river listening to that song. Do you know why I'm not afraid? I was molested when I was very young inside, and out I've long been rotten to the core. Sarah tugged at her collar, her gaze vacant, as if she were on the verge of shattering. I often dreamed that when that man dragged me away, someone stood up and chased him off, but when I wake up, I'm still just me. My heart twisted in agony. So this was the truth. Sarah, who had been drenched in rain, wanted to hold an umbrella for me. I do love her, even during those days in prison. I thought of her day and night. Jack was especially remorseful, each word tugging at my heart. But it's useless. The one she loves isn't me. I understand, but it's too late now. In the end, I'm the one who failed her. What's the use of saying all this now? Gasping for breath, I struggled to stand up. This marriage must end. Damn it, you're impossible. Sarah must have been blind. Jack raised his fist, but before it could land, blood was already gushing from my nose and mouth. Listen, I don't have much time. I'm dying. Clutching Jack's arm with what little strength remained, the pain in my lungs felt like a dagger slowly carving me apart. Each breath brought the suffocating taste of blood, my vision flickering between light and dark. Yet I stubbornly refused to pass out. I can't die in front of her. That would be too cruel. Jack's hands were stained with my blood, his whole body trembling as he stared in shock. I understand. I'll help you. I forced a smile to show my goodwill. Once the divorce is finalized, I'll have nothing left to tie me down. At the end of my life, I will make Carl Morgan pay for his evil deeds. Sign it. I pushed the divorce papers toward Sarah. I'm being transferred, taking a management position at a hospital in the neighboring city. No more clinical work. Is your junior colleague going with you? Sarah's voice hadn't fully recovered, yet she gritted her teeth, calling me heartless, her eyes brimming with hatred. How impressive. 10 years of marriage, and you can cut it off just like that without even batting an eye. I forced the corners of my lips upward, struggling to conjure a smile. We were never truly husband and wife. Her pupils trembled violently, something fragile collapsing soundlessly within them. Then I'll sign first. Can we not divorce? Sarah suddenly grabbed my wrist, her eyes brimming with sorrow and despair. I'm not that strong. I can't let go. Bitterness spread from the root of my tongue, making my next words unbearably difficult to utter. No. Sarah suddenly jumped up and slapped me hard across the face. Ethan, don't you dare try to abandon me. I signed the divorce papers, you and I will never be separated in this lifetime. News of the divorce spread, and the neighbors all pointed fingers at me, accusing me of cheating with a junior student and ruining Sarah's entire life. Jack showed some decency, after all, firmly persuading Sarah to first take a trip to Milan to clear her mind. It's been so long. I finally turned the lights on again. Sarah has been irritable these days, and the pots and pans in the house have suffered the consequences, most of them shattered, leaving not a single decent one intact. The warm yellow light filled our already small cottage, illuminating every corner of memory. The ingredients for ravioli were still in the cupboard. I kneaded the dough and mixed the filling as I pleased, and what I made turned out more presentable than Sarah's attempts. Sweat beaded on my forehead. Despite the bitter cold curled up on the sofa, I managed half a bowl of dumplings before my stomach churned violently, rejecting every last bite. This body can't take much more, my junior called, saying she arranged a consultation with a renowned specialist, repeatedly urging me to cooperate fully with the treatment. 8 a.m. tomorrow. Don't oversleep, I murmured in response. I owe you too many favors already. Afraid I can't repay them all. Don't you dare say such ominous things. Her voice cracked with emotion. We agreed. After you recover, you're treating me to dinner with that meal still owed. You're forbidden from any accidents. Alright, I promise you, if I lie, I'll be a little dog. After hanging up the phone, I got up, shaved my beard, and rummaged through the closet for the windbreaker I'd bought before I called out casually, Sarah, where's my hat? The empty house echoed only with my own voice. The hat was at the very bottom of the closet. Sarah had always been a neat freak. Even after losing her mind, that habit never changed. Dave came to visit our home and tried on my hat. Sarah chased him out with a knife, then threw the hat away afterward. I thought it was a waste and secretly retrieved it. Only now do I understand the person who hurt her had a build just as burly as Dave's. The psychological scars from childhood remain deeply etched in her body, even if her mind has blocked them out. I snapped out of my daze. What is going on, Sarah? Isn't here, yet it feels like she's everywhere. I fished out a scalpel from the top of the hanging cabinet and gave it a few practice swings. My breathing was a bit labored, but my hands were steady, pushing open the door. It was rush hour. Everyone was hurrying home against the bitter wind, while I alone walked out with my head bowed, like a ship sailing against the current. I knew my destination, adrift in vast emptiness, feeling somewhat alone. Jack and Sarah's flight was at 8 p.m. Once they take off, I can finally settle things with Carl Morgan. Divorce doesn't matter anymore. I'll take Carl away and leave all the property to Sarah. From now on, she'll never have to live in fear again. All past grievances will be wiped clean. 11. I couldn't find anyone at Carl Morgan's butcher shop, only discovering many unspeakable photos in the darkroom. He wore a mask during the crimes, making it difficult for young children to identify his features. The victims in the photos were all quite young, their faces etched with terror and despair. Carl treated these girls' suffering as trophies, meticulously noting behind each photo: forest cabin, red dress girl 3 times, alleyway, a little cherry 1 time, abandoned warehouse, the one in white shoes 1 time. The girl in white shoes was covered in bruises from fighting back with all her might, her youthful face bearing traces of Sarah's shadow. After these few photos came several horrifying crime scene images: my parents and younger brother lying lifeless in pools of blood. Beneath them was a line of small text: he ruined my plans, so I had to silence him. Carl had taken Sarah to an abandoned warehouse, intending to assault her, when he happened to encounter my father. My father didn't get a clear look at Carl's face. He just rescued the unconscious Sarah and took her to the hospital. A month later, Carl, having completed his reconnaissance, stormed into my home to silence me permanently. The neighbors all whispered that Sarah had been defiled. Her parents, unable to bear the shame, left her outside after dark, almost wishing she would die. So Sarah, hiding behind the courtyard wall, witnessed Carl fleeing after committing the crime. Sarah and I had been bound together by fate long before this. Flipping further, I saw a string of familiar numbers followed by flight information. Carl was coming for me. He recognized Sarah, the one wearing white shoes in the abandoned warehouse. That one time he failed to get her became the most persistent obsession of his life. Boundless rage surged like tidal waves, drowning my last shred of rationality. The pale face in the mirror twisted with hatred. "Don't get out of the car, Carl is coming," he s, looking for Sarah. The voice on the other end was chaotic Jack's drawn-out words asking me, "What did you say, Weavy?" "Already gotten out. 3 zone. It's too noisy here, can't hear clearly." A 3 far. I'm rushing over. A burly figure dashed past me like a shadowy ghost. Seeing him pull out a brown liquid bottle from his pocket with gloved hands, I had no time to think. I gripped the scalpel and charged forward. Chaos reigns. The pain is unbearable. My body feels shattered into a million pieces. There's no capacity left to process anything clearly. Countless colorful streaks seem to dart before my eyes, but they're blurred, incomprehensible. Suddenly weightlessness, the pain vanishes. 12 Carl Morgan-esque atrocities are finally exposed to daylight. Public opinion completely reversed. The wolf who hid his fangs so well has finally been brought to justice. As for me, I carried a special scalpel with me, and even pried open Carl's door. Anyone with eyes could see I intended to meet violence with violence. Many petitioned on my behalf, claiming my actions were self-defense, but the law is just, and I never sought special leniency. Before the verdict could be pronounced, my life had already reached its end. As the weather grew warmer, Jack came to visit me with Sarah on his back. It was only then that I realized the brown bottle Carl carried didn't contain acid, but developer fluid for developing photographs. When she was little, Carl didn't succeed. She's untouched. I know Jack nodded. Even if Carl had really violated her, I wouldn't have held it against her. Sarah's eyes were corroded and she lost her sight. I lied to her, told her you couldn't stand her blindness, that it'd be harder to take care of her. So Jack hesitated for a few seconds. Hate me. I shook my head, feeling as if my skull were filled with lead. After several attempts to speak, I finally managed 2 words: thank you. Death is too painful a parting. I'd rather she live on hating me, grinding her teeth at the thought of me vibrant and happy for 100 years. I'm so glad I didn't undergo chemotherapy. At least by her side, I remained the way she remembered me. Her eyes, "Don't worry, we're waiting for a suitable donor." Jack's expression was solemn, as if taking a vow. "I'll take good care of her for you. No, after I die, donate my corneas to her." A few days ago, my condition improved. I knew it was the final rally before the end. I used those days to arrange my posthumous affairs, including donating my body. I tried licking my lips, but couldn't even feel them anymore. The last breath escaped from my chest, carrying a sigh. Same as always, don't tell her. Sunlight filtered through the window lattice, falling on my sickbed. My eyelids were too heavy to lift. I fell asleep in my dream. It was still that sunny afternoon with a wobbling little desk. Cicadas chirped, school uniforms rustled, the sweet scent of watermelon lingered, and the wind flipped the pages of books with a flutter. Sarah was so sleepy, she couldn't sit up straight, resting her head on my shoulder while intermittently yawning. Dappled tree shadows fell across Sarah's eyelashes, encircling my entire world. Sarah's side story: "Tell me what you want to eat, and I'll buy it." Always running around when the doctor said you need rest. Jack gripped my fingers, wrapping them layer upon layer. I want to make handmade ravioli, but I can never get it right. Jack's movements were somewhat unnatural, hesitating for a few seconds before saying, "Ethan doesn't want you anymore. Why are you still thinking about him?" I half closed my eyes to steady myself, speaking in a light tone. "Do you know why Ethan likes to eat handmade ravioli with egg yolk filling?" After experiencing that nightmare in the abandoned shoe factory warehouse, I was met with an even more terrifying nightmare. My parents' disdainful indifference, the gossip of neighbors, and the slanderous rumors spread by classmates. "Don't stay at home if you're fine. It's annoying to look at you. A young girl running around in a short skirt deserves to be violated by bad people. Did you hear Sarah from 9th grade is a little delinquent? She got beaten to a pulp for dating too early." I was clearly the victim, so why does everyone think I'm the one who is wrong? "Don't cry. If that bad person comes to hurt you again, I'll protect you with my life." The sunlight burst into my life abruptly and recklessly. Ethan, this name accompanied me through those darkest days. Our family's financial situation was already poor, and Dad had accumulated a mountain of debt trying to start a business. After Ethan came to live with us, our lives visibly improved. Ethan never called me sister and usually kept his distance. We walked to school separately telling anyone who asked that we were just neighbors. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last. A year later. Ethan's uncle stopped paying my father's living expenses. As Ethan's guardian, his uncle seized all of his parents' inheritance and moved the whole family overseas, vanishing without a trace. From then on, our meals often consisted of plain bread with pickles and soup made from vegetable scraps picked up outside the market, without even a drop of oil floating on top. My father still held on to some hope for Ethan, believing that unscrupulous uncle might return someday, so he continued saving one egg for Ethan each week. Ethan would always secretly leave them for me, his eyes practically green with envy, yet he'd swallow his saliva and lie to me, "Sarah, you eat them, I'm allergic to eggs." I don't know when it started, but the way we interacted gradually changed between us. Young boys and girls experiencing first love. They know nothing, yet they know everything. The class bully had a crush on Ethan during lunch break. She splashed water all over me, yanked my hair, and tore my clothes. "Who do you think you're, you little punk, acting all innocent? How old are you to be hanging around with boys? Shameless. I'm warning you, stay away from Ethan. He is an honor student. What makes you think you're at his league?" I clenched the water bottle, ready to fight back, just as Ethan happened to walk past the doorway. My heart inexplicably panicked. Had he overheard their words just now, what would he think? Suddenly, a basin of cold water drenched the girls who had cornered me. Surrounding someone to splash water and curse who's the real delinquent here, Ethan pulled me up and draped his school jacket over my head. "I don't want to bully girls, so don't you dare bully my sister." That sister saved me from embarrassment, but I wasn't happy at all. It felt like it defined our relationship, like passing a death sentence. When Jack took me away, I never expected to come back alive. After all, no one wanted me anymore. No one wished for me to live. It wasn't until I chased after an apple fell and cracked my head open that Ethan pushed aside the woman beside him and rushed over to pull me into his embrace. Only then did I realize that during those missing days in my memory, I'd already become his wife. 10 years of marriage, and I got what I wished for, except I remember none of it. I wasn't psychologically prepared. I didn't know how to interact with him. Taking advantage of my confused mind to force me into marrying you disgust me. I'm not angry at him, but at my own incompetence, yet that remark of mine seems to have genuinely hurt him. My mother rushed over to see me, and her first words were to urge me to hold on to Ethan tightly. Ethan is now the department head at a major hospital, young and capable. Who wouldn't like him? Also, I heard their news from his uncle's side, and they might even recover the family assets that were taken before. Thankfully, you've come to your senses, so keep a close eye on Ethan. Don't let him slip away. Her words were like a sharp knife, slowly flaying my pride and dissecting my pain. I'm hopelessly trapped, and I've ruined Ethan's life. Let us get divorced, can we not? After all this back and forth, I still can't bear to let go. He's like a kite. I want to set him free to soar, but I'm afraid he'll really fly away. The last time I saw him, he was lunging at that burly butcher. A splash of liquid hit my face, and after a sharp sting, I lost my sight, and Ethan too. "Sarah, what are you thinking about?" A faint, tingling pain crept through my fingers, subtle, yet unmistakable. I looked up and smiled at Jack. "Did you know the last image a person sees before death remains imprinted on their retinas?" Upholding justice, why was it wrong? "I saw you," I interrupted him, taking a deep breath, and the operating room lights bright as a summer sun. Jack couldn't hold back his eyes, suddenly reddening. "I was just joking. Why so nervous?" I burst out laughing. "You're so gullible. How could a body retain memory functions after consciousness dissipates?" "You really scared me." Jack turned away, quietly wiping his glasses as if nothing had happened. These eyes were indeed Ethan's. Through them, I clearly saw the 10 years we missed together. Saw the love I tried so hard to conceal and the ripples he struggled to smooth. The narcissus flowers on the table bloomed luxuriantly, their fragrance filling the air. Ethan lent me his life, carrying that summer toward the sunlight, going to be with his family. True to his stubborn nature, knowing how afraid I was of darkness and ghosts, he never once appeared in my dreams. I will fulfill his wish, living happily and vibrantly to 100 years, seeing the world through his eyes. Well, for me, it's a mischance, but for him, it's a reunion. And as for him and me, we'll eventually reunite to the end.